me había olvidado, perdón, de ver este video que me dijo el Sunday que lo reaccionara, que es haciendo una legendaria, las ruletas, ¿no? Para Call of Duty Mobile. Hay un youtuber llamado JT Juts que él oficialmente creó una legendaria para Call of Duty Mobile. Que me imagino que ya la hemos visto. ¿Cuál es? Ni la mini idea, vamos a ver ahorita en directo. A ver cómo hacen las armas míticas. Bueno, legendarias en este caso.
In my proud opinion, Call of Duty Mobile has the best paid guns and characters of any game out there.
Se le dije como 3 veces ayer, perdón.
Let's start with the character. Now, my favorite operators are the ones whose faces are concealed. I don't know why I prefer them that way, but I just do. So
Queremos títulos... No puedo activarlos en español.
with that in mind, let's get to modeling. Using this dummy as a scale reference, I started modeling the pants. For that, I used this plane that I stretched out down the side of the leg and
a ver qué personaje es.
that it wasn't too curvaceous. I'm also going to use this mirror modifier, so I only have to model one half of the pants. I closed in the front here and gave the back a little bit of a dump truck. Now, these pants are real blocky right now, so let's smooth it out just like that. Time to run a cloth simulation on them, and that looks nice and clothy. And already, we have
okay, le hizo real, ¿no?
I'm going to continue to finesse them behind the scenes until they are just right, and next, let's cover the torso. This is a similar process as before, using a plane and conforming.
O sea, de ahí se puede ver cuál es o no. No, yo no voy ni verga,
And wow, we already have a decent. No, that's
forma del cuerpo.
Let's run a cloth simulation on that real.
Le pone la ropa, ahora la hace real.
Okay. Let's add a split for the zipper, and now it's time for those grubby paws. Initially, I made a glove, but
las manos y patas.
Later, and decided to make some robotic hands instead. So using this X-ray of a hand as reference, I modeled these fingers, and that looked.
Oh, lo referencia una radiografía de verdad.
Kind of cool. So I mirrored it over to the other side. Now, obviously, this is going to need a bunch more work later, but we'll come back to that. For the feet, let's take this cube and make this insanely stupid-looking boot, or rather, this insanely Balenciaga-looking boot. Sorry, I guess I'm being redundant. Anyway, let's smooth that out, tuck the pants.
Una bota Balenciaga.
Boot look decent. Quick interruption. While I was modeling, I briefly experimented with this shape, and holy cow, that might be one of the ugliest things I've ever modeled in my entire life. Anyway, let's model this opening in the boot and cover it up with this clamp mechanism, which I'll array up the boot. Here, I'm going to add these bootstrap things, this lock mechanism, some chains, and finally these bolts.
Ok, con esa bota, ¿saben quién es? Ni puta idea. No sé quién es.
Let's mirror that over, and the boots are complete. Let's move up a little bit to the waist and add this crotch protection plate, as well as these leg support things. Time for some
ya, le puse la entrepierna, diseño de las botas, diseño de la ropa.
Next, let's add this artificial six-pack, which really adds a lot of nice detail. After that, I'll add this strap, which is going to hold these plates in place, as well as indenting the plates for additional detail. Finally, it's time for the hood, which finalizes the character's main
una capa, ¿cuál es? ¿Cuál es? A ver, ¿quién es el primero que adivina?
Bring a character to life. Like these straps, and these chains, and these little
ya, ahí tienen que saber quién es, ¿no?
I don't know what. And let's finally give this operator a face. I started by modeling this basic mask composed of a bunch of different plates. This actually looked really nice.
Esa máscara, ¿quién tiene esa máscara de Ranked?
Next up, I decided to stuff a bunch of barbed wire into his mouth, which also looked nice. I filled his mouth with all of these tubes, which pair nicely with the gears I added next. Finally, I added some locks of barbed wire on his forehead, which finalizes the head. And now comes the part where I add
es un nicto, el esqueleto vaquero.
But let's skip past that and get to the final reveal.
Batman. ¿Es este?
Personally, I think
no existe, no existe.
I could see myself actually using.
¿Este quién verga es?
Skin if it came out in Call of Duty Mobile. The highlight for me is the mask. I'm not sure why. Smiling masks just always do it for me. His boots are probably the worst part of it. I think they ended up looking a little bit too clunky, and if I were to do this again, I'd
pero está God o no?
like a leather material. But regardless, there he is. But what's a good character without a good gun? It's time to model.
Ok, y es el personaje, ahora va a ser un arma.
Now, while I block out the weapon, I wanted to mention that this is the second attempt at modeling the gun. I poured hours into the first one, decided it just wasn't working, and threw it in the trash. Sometimes something just is not going to work out, and you have to start over. But with that being said,
Fennec,
I now have the basic block out ready, so let's get to modeling. I started by creating a handle as always, which took a lot of finessing.
Va a diseñar un arma, no modelarla. Qué puta mierda debe ser,
And I'll keep that pretty basic for now. Next, let's just model the barrel real quick, which I'm just going to copy the reference for. I'll introduce a few random details like these grills and this extrusion and whatnot. I'll also add this little connection point to smooth out the transition between the body and the barrel. Now, back to the body itself, more detail, like these indents and this extrusion and this extrusion and a bunch of other random indents and extrusions. Next up is this part. I'm afraid I don't know what its technical name is. I'm going to put a bunch of holes in it just like that, and next I'll add the magazine. I'll add a few details onto that to make it look okay, and I'll come back to that later. Here's the stock, which now that it's in place allows you to see what the general shape of the weapon is going to look like. This could be like a USS-9 or something of that sort. Yeah.
Esto puede ser como una US-9 o algo así. Ah, es una arma nueva para él.
This thing, and that looks kind of cool. So why don't I model that real quick and put it on the side of the gun, as well as these connectors for some.
Copié modelo de armas originales, leo sus efectos.
Long period of adding random bits and details all over the gun to
la pistola MW11.
Just gradually filling the gun out, doing stuff like adding bolts and barbed wire and buttons and just anything that sounds cool. The shader itself also took an absurd amount of time, partially because I was indecisive.
A la verga, ¿qué es esa mierda? Alguien de programación que me diga qué es esta mierda, o lo que verás, que O lo que verga sea que se tiene que estudiar. ¿Qué es esta porquería? ¡Hala! Son como nodos conectados, pero con full mierdas.
Decisive about what exactly it should
Hacer
look
cachucha, no puedo, maricón.
like, but eventually decided on this white metal with blue leakage all over it. After all this and an
Un
ungodly amount of
color
modeling,
azul
I got
metal.
this. I wanted the gun to sort of have medical vibes.
Una skin de la US 9. Mira, mira, una skin de la US.
I wanted the gun to sort of have medical vibes, like maybe the operator was a
US 9 legendaria Surgical Incision.
rogue doctor or something. So I added all this random medical equipment all over it. I think it turned out alright. Definitely not good enough to be a mythic, maybe not
Hizo
even
hasta la imagen y
legendary,
todo
but,
de
you know,
presentación, qué
it's
arrecho.
on. Here is what it looks like in action.
Ojo, ojo, el trailer de presentación, Algún día será real y colaborarán con COD Mobile. Dios quiere que no, pero está God. Esto es mejor que los trailers de COD Mobile.
There you have it, COD Mobile. Feel free to send me a million COD points whenever you feel like it. And until next time, I'm gonna go watch paint dry or something. I don't know.
Qué arrecho. Ah, esto hace más videos. Modelando una mítica un arma mítica en COD Mobile. Hace más videos de eso, de este estilo. No sé y no quiero saber nada.